Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to be getting started here in a few minutes. Today's class is an open discussion, so feel free to post any questions you may have in the chat or use the raise hand feature. I'll be going back and forth between Zoom and YouTube to pose any questions you may have. We're just about ready to get started. Hope everyone's doing well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, good morning. Your volume is low.
Okay, let me see if I can adjust my microphone.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, Jack, I see your hand is raised.
Hello. I've been reading the four aspects of creation, listening to Dr. King's talk. He was overshadowed by, I think, his first aspect, and he talks later about how we are fourth aspect, and that we have a higher aspect on a higher realm. I was wondering how that works. If they exist as an entity, or are they in the same space as us, or is it the golden globe above the head? Or I was just wondering how that would work.
That's a very advanced question, but
Yeah.
it's simple to understand, but most people won't understand it for some reason. I don't know why.
I'm definitely in that category, yeah.
It's part of your higher self is you. Your soul is you.
Yeah.
Your spirit is everything, because everything extends from your spirit. Now, in order for the spirit to manifest itself, it have to create a series of bodies. I guess the best way to begin to understand that is I have a lecture tape on the mystic constitution of man.
Yeah, I've heard that one, yes.
Yeah, so you see how I introduce the different aspects of yourself?
I can understand if we are occupying the same space, but in different realms.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that's what you're doing right now.
But I wasn't sure the way he explained it. It seemed to be that there was another.
No, because we exist. We exist as fourth aspect beings, or really within the fourth aspect, existence. We are not conscious of our existence. What he's describing is cosmic, he's describing cosmic existence. So in the cosmic existence, they live within and above the crown center, the crown chakra. So they are constantly conscious. So none of their bodies need to hibernate or go to sleep or split consciousness in order to allow another segment of consciousness to express itself, and then that consciousness die, and then, will go to sleep, and then the next consciousness come about, and that's what we're doing when we're sleeping and awake. See, so we allow the subtle part of our consciousness express itself while we're asleep.
Okay.
And then when we're awake, we'll allow the physical, the gross physical, because the subtle is physical too, but we'll allow the gross physical to express itself through consciousness while we are awake. And then we go to sleep, and we allow the subtle physical part of our consciousness express itself. But when you ascend to the crown chakra and above, then you can move into a full aspect type being, and then you can create different bodies for different journeys. You understand? Because essentially that's what the spirit charged the soul with at the initial part of creation. The spirit created the soul as a body for the spirit in order to move out through the manifest, the growth, the subtle and gross manifested world. But the spirit stayed in one place, never moving from that one place, because the spirit is unmanifested. And that one place is everywhere. You understand?
Okay.
So then what happened when the soul came into manifestation, the soul created another body for itself. And that body was a counterpart of itself and the auric body.
Yeah.
You understand? And then
Okay.
that part began to within that auric field, it created several different more expressions for the soul, so that the soul can gain experience on multiple levels of existence. And that became the traveling body to gain all those experiences and to go through cycles of time, realms of existence, and all of that. So once we move out of these lower realms below the crown chakra, and we move into the Ajna, which is the third eye of the Christ chakra, and then we move into the crown chakra, we move into a whole nother realm of consciousness, because each chakra is multiple expressions of consciousness. Okay, each chakra is multiple expressions of consciousness and realms of existence, because consciousness allow you to experience realms of existence. So when you move into the crown chakra, you become a cosmic being.
Okay.
And really, when you move into the Christ chakra, you become a cosmic being. But when you go into the crown chakra, you become and now you become a conscious. To us, you're like a conscious God.
Okay.
You know, so to you know, because now you will not experience death in the sense what we call death. You will predetermine all your actions, and you will when you go to another planet to live there for a time, you will approach that planet, and you will approach the logos of that planet, and you will be born through the logos consciously. And once you do that, then you will stationary the full aspect of yourself on that planet in order to give that planet the benefit of your presence. And then when you get ready to do any action, you will create a different set of twin souls, or twin souls, like the second aspect.
Right.
And the third aspect, and then the third aspect is a traveling aspect. The fourth aspect is an aspect that is introduced into another plane of existence.
Right.
So you have the first aspect that never leaves that planet, and then the second aspect that may move around that planet, and then the third aspect is a traveling aspect that will move out into the solar system or galaxy. And then the fourth aspect is that aspect that is the lowest aspect that they would split themselves up into, and that aspect will move into an incarnation cycle of another planet.
Okay, I understood that. Yeah, it's easier when they say, when there's this separation, just because, but then you're in touch with all of them, but they're obviously now we're not in touch. So Dr. King said that this higher aspect must have fallen too, and now its lower aspects, you, are being cleansed before the spiritual union takes place. And I was wondering if that in the 12 blessings it says at the man's extremity is thy opportunity. So is that referring to fourth aspect?
Well,
are we man's extremity?
You got to look at it as though what I just described to you is basic man's, when I was describing the spirit, the soul, and all of that. Because the soul, the soul is the fallen aspect of the divine spark of God, which is the spirit of you. You understand? So that's the falling part. But the spirit never.
I thought it meant fallen as in choosing freedom over free will.
Right. That's right. Choosing free will over freedom.
But that wasn't just us on this planet and not the other. So this higher aspect also made the decision.
Yes, because when that divine spark of God could have stepped out and became a Lord of Karma, or Diva, or planet. See, but it chose to move lower than that. You understand? So I think we have a lecture tape. I did a lecture on the what it was called, the creative energies of the galaxy, or of the universe, or cosmic or something, and we go deep into that, talking about how the initial sound and the initial
Vak,
energy, Vak, and how when that initial sound came, many different divine sparks of God made a decision what they was going to do, whether they was going to stay at a creative level of the universe or galaxy, or the solar system, or they were going to move deep down into manifestation into the lower realms and aspects.
So do they have like an existence separate from us, or are they just experiencing everything through us? Because
who have an existence?
Our higher aspects, or are they completely tied to us? They're just watching our every.
Yeah, I mean they are you and you are them.
It must be boring for them. That's what I was thinking. Just
no. How can it be boring when you have
watching me go around all day?
No. When you have the whole universe to entertain you.
That's what I meant. Do they have a much higher consciousness, so they are experiencing much?
Because remember, there's only one life, and that one life is God.
But if they fell, then
the spirit never left the position or the connection of the absolute. So the divine spark of me can be aware of the divine spark of all things in the universe.
Okay.
Because
first aspect.
Because they are a part of the absolute. Because it is a part of the absolute.
The first aspect.
Huh?
The first aspect.
That's more than the first. No, don't get confused. The first aspect with the spirit. No,
okay.
No, you're getting confused.
The first aspect is the soul.
Huh?
The first aspect is the soul.
It's the highest expression of the soul for that cosmic being.
Okay.
But that first aspect will soon become a solar lord, and then it can have 3,000 aspects.
Right.
And yet it's still separate from the soul itself. You understand?
Okay. Yeah. Depending on its level of.
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, the aspects is just an expression of the soul. Any aspect of you is just an expression of the soul. And any aspect, and the soul is an expression of the divine spark of God, and the body of the divine spark of God.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so, and it's interesting that that each aspect is a twin. He referred to as a twin aspect or a twin soul, because it expresses itself in a positive, in an ultra positive way, in an ultra negative way, not negative and bad, but negative in polarity. So then those two, the two first aspects come together and produce the second aspect, and that second aspect is two aspects itself, and then it comes together and produce the third aspect, and then even when they introduce themselves into the reincarnation cycle, they may reintroduce themselves as two aspects, but we only know of one aspect.
Right.
It's almost like in engineering or an architectural, you have an X and an O.
Okay.
See, the X stands still, but the O moves. See, so you always have that negative and that positive and negative aspect of yourself.
But if they're not introduced, if it's not introduced to the life cycle on this planet, there is the first aspect. There's also a second and third aspect to us.
What I'm talking about on the cosmic level.
On the cosmic level, yeah.
Yeah, the four aspects are twin souls.
Right.
That's
when they.
Yeah. Okay. So, but even with us, we have a soulmate. And some of us have multiple soulmates.
Under one aspect.
Huh?
Under one aspect.
No, because even we are four aspect beings, but we're just not conscious of it. if you go back to the ancient teachings, in fact, I put a diagram together about that. If you go back, Dr. King introduced the four aspects on a cosmic level, but there's another in ancient Tantra Satra and Mantra Satra teachings, they talk about the four aspects of sound, which means consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about that's how we are locked into the body, and that's how we experience consciousness. And and those sound vibrations is the thing that builds each level of consciousness in each body that we operate from. You have a sound body or a sound consciousness that experience stuff from the Muladhara chakra, which is the base of the spine chakra. There's an initial sound vibration that that extends itself from the Kundalini there, and then that sound vibration extends itself from the solar plexus center, and it creates a realm of consciousness that allows a mixture of energies, and then and formulas of energy, and then it moves, and then the sound expresses itself from the heart chakra, and the heart chakra take those formulas and the energy, and they take it and they mold it into subtle bodies. They give all the energy patterns meaning. And then the sound vibration moves to the throat chakra, and that's the fourth aspect of sound, and that's how we introduce consciousness into the subtle and physical bodies. So in ancient times, they described this fourth aspect like that. Now, Dr. King gave us the cosmic expression of that, like nobody ever did, because now by looking at what he tells us, we can understand what the ancient teachings meant now.
In our language, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope I didn't confuse you.
Well, I'm a few steps closer to understanding, but
Okay.
I don't think I could explain it to anyone else. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Did we run everybody off from me answering that question?
Anyone have any? Everyone joining us on YouTube, welcome everybody. Today's class is an open discussion, so feel free to ask your questions in the chat or raise your hand on Zoom. Either way, I'll get to your question. Hey, Lisa. Okay, Lisa has a question. What are your thoughts on 5G?
What you mean by 5G? Talking about the new
The new wireless transmission protocol?
I don't believe in all that stuff. I mean, I don't believe in all the conspiracy theories, if that's what she asked. Yeah, I don't believe in that. I know some people do, I just don't. Years ago, when I used to study. I was heavy into psychic study and psychic emanations. Um, I noticed that certain music affected the aura. Um, and it was very obvious to any psychic. So, but the only way it really affected them was when they really indulged in that type of music to the extreme, because the effect will come on while they're listening to it, and then after they leave, it goes away. Now you do have residue of it, but I didn't see no long-term effects unless they did something stupid like turn the volume up too far, and it mess with their physical organs. But most of the subtle and psychic stuff, the aura seemed to filter it out some type of way. You know, especially based on that person's level of consciousness and karmic patterns. So, you know, and I, you know, and I thought about that, but I went back to the laws of metaphysics. If you want to affect something on a psychic level, then you think it with pure thought. If you want to affect something on a mental level, you whisper it. If you want to affect something on the physical level, then you speak it. And that's how you control subtle energies. So, and believe it or not, all the physical things around us have to respond to that same law. So think about the 5G, the 4G, all that stuff, you know. I don't think it's affecting us because in the way that they say that it's affecting us, unless we engage in it. So, you know, if you can understand what I'm saying, you have to apply mental energy behind it. It just can't be a universal type mental energy, because the scream is sent out. I won't say purposeless, but almost purposeless. It takes you engaging into it in order to activate it. So, in my opinion, that's what debunked the whole 5G thing. Any other questions?
So you don't think it can be harmful to us, the 5G?
No, I don't think so. I think it can if you engage in it. I don't think it's just, I don't think that it's that this thing is I mean, everything is messing with us to some degree, but I don't think it's to the level what the conspiracy theories are saying, that is bringing on COVID-19 or something. I don't think that. I don't think that.
Okay, next question. Mental contamination seems to be influencing the population and moving them into a negative position. What do you do to stay informed without being influenced by the negative suggestions being sent?
I mean, that's always been the case, in my opinion. That's always been the case. I mean, but if you stay centered, then you don't, you're not affected by that. So, for instance, what's an example I can give you? This might be a poor example, but it makes sense. My first time to LA, to Los Angeles, California, I was just walking around the city just to get a feel of it, and it was a student and a friend of mine that we were walking back in the early '80s, and the traffic was terrible. It was noise and everything, and all of a sudden, we seen this cathedral. It could have been a Catholic church, or it could have been a Presbyterian, but it was nice. It was old structure, nicely built, and we walked into it because just to feel the shape power. Because a lot of those old structures, they were designed in a way to create a flow of energy and a presence. So we walked into it and everything changed. The whole the feeling, the mold over us, everything, because the way the structure is designed is designed to bring about certain pressures and vortexes of energy and mind systems. So you can be in the midst of madness and still stay calm. In other words, if a structure can be designed like that, then you can design your auric body the same way. So it can repel those things, and you stay centered and focused on whatever you are choosing to stay focused on and not be a part of. And that's by predetermining your own thoughts and actions. I hope I answered your question. Any other questions?
I say yes, thank you. You answered this question. Okay, Zai, I see your hand is up. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good morning. My question has to do with the secret doctrines of Madame Blavatsky. I've been reading that, and there's a section that I got to where she speaks about there being 70 planets in the galaxy, not the number that we traditionally are familiar with, and that I don't understand this fully, but one thing that she mentions is that each I don't know if it's a race of people, but a group of people have a specific God that essentially comes to them. I guess like similar to how Zoroaster came to the Iranians or the Persian people who come to aid them, and that was my understanding of it. But I'm not sure if I grasp it well enough. I'm actually pretty sure I don't. So I was wondering if you could share any more light on that.
Yeah. Now, what do you say? The first one she said that what now? She said each what? You're
That,
talking about the planets in the solar system?
yes, and so that they're actually 70 and not the amount that we are typically told about. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and there was more stuff about there being 7 major gods and 3 chose to create, or 4 chose to create aspects of themselves, and then the others didn't, and then so they started warring, and yeah.
What she's doing, she's taking some of the ancient teachings and she's trying to interpret them.
Okay.
And she does a real good job of it, as a matter of fact. And but English was her second language, or maybe her third or fourth language. Okay. And but she's correct in what she was saying. You have these. How can I say it? You have these cosmic beings that, by karmic law, they come in to Earth and they position themselves in order to help raise the consciousness of mankind on a certain segment of the world, or group of conscious or group consciousness around the world, and that will last for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, tens of millions of years, before they phase out, and then another cosmic being come in and do the same thing. So so that is correct. You had many cosmic beings come over the years. Zoroaster was one of them. Elijah was one. Enoch was one. Sankachara was one. Laose, the Lord Buddha, the Lord Sri Krishna. All of these were great cosmic beings that came to move or influence a segment of a population. And to us, they are like gods. I mean, you know, we're not saying they are God, but they are like God. Jesus was one. You know, Jesus wasn't God, but Jesus was a higher aspect to us, which was like a God. It's the same way Sri Krishna was. Ramakrishna, even Mahatma Gandhi recently, he was a cosmic being. So they come and they move the needle or move a part of consciousness in order to bring about a great event and to change the comic trajectory of where man or that group consciousness is headed, or to eliminate a catastrophe that was going to happen to them. So that's what she was probably trying to explain.
Okay, because
so that's why you shouldn't criticize different religions, although in every religion you have an orthodox part of that religion, and you have an unorthodox part of that religion. So, or you have a mystic part of that religion, and then a part of that religion that's not mystic, it might be confusion, or it might be unexplained to a certain degree. But the mystic part of it holds the greatest secret. Like you have the Jewish religion, they have the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah is full of, not saying that the Torah isn't, but the Kabbalah is full of great mystic teachings. The same way the Torah is full of great mystic teachings, the same way the Holy Bible is too. But you have a mystic part. It's like you have Christianity, you have mystic Christianity. What I teach is mystic Christianity when I'm speaking about the certain Christian aspects. The same way you have in Hinduism, you have a mystic side of Hinduism, other than the traditional cultural side of Hinduism. So, but what she was describing was that was true in every root race that she talked about. There was these great cosmic beings that guided mankind. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I've read a digital copy of the Ancient Language of the Soul from Amazon. How can I hear the recommended mantras?
At the end, I tell you, if you read it, you'll see I recommend that you write the Ethereal Society and get a copy of the Dynamic and Soul Mantras. They have it on auto. They have an auto book or auto CD that you can hear the mantras. You can be initiated into the mantras in order to pronounce the mantra properly. So you can, I mean, if you write me, I can give you a link, or you want to put a link of that up,
Okay.
Dwayne?
Yeah.
Dwayne can put a link up on the chat, and you can you can download. I think, can you download that, or you have to order that?
They have two options. You can order the CD or you can order the MP3 download. And if I could spell theories, right? I will post that in both chats, in YouTube and on Zoom. In the meantime, are there any further questions? Also, the mantra initiation is good for those who would like to join us in a 12 blessing service, because we do use those mantras in all of our services, including absentee healing and okay, I just posted the link in the chat. link is for the MP3 download or the audio download. You can also get it via CD if you prefer.
Yeah, going back to the last question about Madame Blavatsky, right? It's interesting to note about that is that according to the mystic teachings, 641,000 years before the birth of Jesus, the Lord Senate Kumar took up residence. In fact, the city of Shambhala was built for the Lord Senate Kumar, and the Lord Senate Kumar came there in his full aspect and took up residence there. And then it was noted that his consciousness, that he was so powerful that his consciousness was split up into 6 different bodies. And he existed on 6 different realms of existence in order to run. And with him came 48 other cosmic masters to help him do his mission here on Earth. And in 1956, it was stated that from several main sources that the Lord Senate Kumar had, the time had came, he had to leave the Earth, and his position was taken by the Lord Buddha. And it's strange that even Christians have statues of Buddhas in their house today. And you see the statue of Buddha everywhere. No matter what religion you belong to, you have a statue of the Lord Buddha in your somewhere near you, or your friends or somebody. So the Lord Buddha have been the new Kumar since 1956. And the Lord Buddha is leading a great number of group consciousness on Earth, the same way Jesus is doing so too. But of course, the Lord Buddha is Jesus' elder in a sense. And also 5,000 some years ago, 5,000 some years, 5,000 some years ago, the Lord Sri Krishna came to Earth, and he started this Kali Yuga, or timetable which we are living in now, which is the Dark Ages. And at his death, that's when this timetable started. And we still talking about the Lord Sri Krishna. And from his epic events that was written about him came all the other Bibles, came the Holy Bible, the Torah, all the other Bibles only tell stories of the Bhagavad Gita. So if you study that coldly and just study it just to see it, you'll notice those things. So, and all the other it seemed like all the other masters that came after him, they came to extend his teachings, you know, some portion of his teachings or his mission. And in the mystic circles, they say the greatest master that have came to earth in the last 5,000 some years, or the last 6,000 some years, was the Lord Sri Krishna. He came 1,100 years before Jesus. So it's interesting to go back and look at that. So you can go back and read the Madam Blavatsky, think about those things. And Madam Blavatsky is a hard read too. Any other questions?
As I see your hand raised, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, first off, though, Madame Blavatsky is a very, very hard read. One of the things that she did state, or at least I understood in the reading, was that 4 of the, I guess, gods have come already, and there's another 3 that has to come before some great thing happens. I'm not sure if that
those 3 came already.
Oh, okay.
They she was predicting the 3 adepts.
Okay.
But they came and they fought the battle. One of the battles that they finished up, one of the battles that the Lord Sri Krishna started on the lower hills. So they came.
Okay. One more question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In reading the 12 blessings, I noticed that the moon isn't mentioned in the blessing, and I was curious about that. And in reading Madame Blavatsky's, I'm pretty sure I'm only probably understanding 2% of what she's writing. But from my understanding, it sounds like she's saying that the moon is older than Earth, and it's dead but alive in some odd way, and that we don't know so much about it because there's a lot of esoteric teachings about the moon that we don't get because of its of its importance or whatever that may be. And so I was just curious because I noticed that it wasn't listed in the 12 blessings when I read it.
Yeah. The moon is older than the Earth. And the moon is an ancient being, and the moon came into the orbit of the Earth in order to to assist the Earth, and in order to aid the Earth in the Earth's sacrifice, because the Earth made a sacrifice in order to take on this basic life forms that it took on. And you notice that the Earth has out of all the planets, the Earth have basic life forms, teams and teams, trillions of basic life forms. And that was a sacrifice the Earth made, because all the other planets in the solar system, with the exception of one recently, all the other planets in the solar system, they live, their life forms live in the etheric realms, and they are much more advanced than Earth. So this great goddess, the moon, realized this eons ago, and came into position of this planet in order to create the right energy flow and mental realms to allow a stabilization of basic consciousness to exist here on this earth without the basic life form going into a chaotic state, because also the earth gave up a lot of the cosmic energy that was coming from the sun and the other planets to this planet. The earth gave up over half of the energy that was due to it. So the moon collects a good portion of the tabic rays, which is a pattern of subtle energies coming from the sun and other planets, and redistribute that in a network type stream around the earth to create mental patterns that you and I can speak to each other, have basic 5 and 10 senses among each other, and gain experience. So the moon is on a mission, and most scientists, they know that it's an odd thing to have a planet that's 20% the mass of Earth, and that totally equalize the atmosphere to allow the layers of atmosphere that we have to allow so much life forms here on Earth, because it's different from any other known planet that they have explored. So yes, it is an ancient being, because planets are living beings themselves. So you have to understand that. So that was a mission that this moon is on. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
There's no other questions?
What are your thoughts on the emerald tablets in general?
The emerald tablets. Familiarize myself with that. What is that? Where is it from? Ask them, where is it from?
And Charlie Ward. Charlie, can you go into explain what the emerald tablets are and where they're from? Do you mean the ones by Thoth or something? I think I've heard of that. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Thoth. Yes, the emerald, the tablets from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were.
That's with the 55 commandments or something like that.
The Hermetic laws.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 55 of them or 50 of them. Is that the one they talk?
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I studied that many years ago. It's like, I don't know, maybe 30 some years ago. So I mean, some people claim that that the Ten Commandments was a part of those laws or something. But I don't remember all of them. I don't remember all of them, but I know they were part of the mystic laws and rules that man had to govern himself for. They were supposed to be laws of karma. But I think that what happened was that something went wrong or they got misinterpreted. So uh, Moses had to come about. And Moses was a cosmic being. And when Moses went to the mountain to so-called speak to God, it was a lesser Lord of, I think it was a lesser Lord of creation or karma that actually manifests an aspect of itself and gave him those 10 commandments that group of consciousness had to follow in order to burn up their negative karma and move in a different direction. So I know that that's what the mystics, that's the mystic version of that. So Moses was not from this planet. He came from another planet or another etheric realm of the planet. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. I have a question. Whenever you talk about the types of prana, the 5 major minor types of prana, you always call them flows. And
Always call them what?
Flows, like each type of the pranas are major flows of prana.
Right.
They call them types, call them flows. So I mean, what differentiates the different types of prana is how they vibrate or how they move through.
Yes, that's what each prana move in a certain pattern. They move with a certain pattern which creates a certain color and energy potential. That's what distinguishes the pranas from each other.
So what is it that vibrates the pranas in different ways? Is it mind that gives them their pattern? That is it mind that modifies the universal energy to create the different types of patterns?
What we're told that is sound. Is actually etheric sound. Because when you look at the cosmic levels of the prana, you have akasa. Mm-hmm. Talking about the Mahabhutas. And what is akasa? Akasa is etheric sound. And what is the nature of akasa? Akasa, it creates, it's called the carrying agent for all the other Mahabhutas. It's called the carrying agent, and it does what? It creates space. So it carries the other energies and it creates space to allow those energies to move. So it helps bring about the pressure that helps bring about the pattern. And at the same time, it opens up a portal, or you could say a wormhole, to allow the energy to flow. And that's the ancient teachings tell us that about a casa. Okay, so in fact, in the book Nature Final Forces by Ramaprasad, he described a casa as the first energy flow that reached the earth, and it wraps itself around the earth and causes a blue aura around the earth. And we look up in the sky, we see blue. And then all the other pranas, Mahabhutas, come through that flow of akasa and fill the atmosphere up in different patterns, moving from north to south to north, to northwest, and it creates the patterns of energy that we can use in order to operate from. But akasa it is the carrying agent, and it is the pressure that helps the pranas to bounce off of and to create the patterns that it needs. So it's always a flow of energy. It has no, and akasa is part of what? Is a mind aspect of prana. So, but it's a mind, it's a chitta instead of saying mind. It's a chitta aspect of the principles of shati, you know, which is universal. It has no personal kinship with anyone, if you can understand what I'm saying. It's not discolored, in other words. Because once mind is discolored, it becomes manas. It becomes that thing it becomes that mind aspect of mind energy that's affected by man. And it's not pure anymore. It's a karmic pattern is created for that mind energy now. And now that mind energy have to go through a series of domino effects in order to get back to its pure state.
Okay. I also had a question about Kundalini when it's in its dormant state and flowing through the nadis. Does the amount of Kundalini that flows through the body change dependent on the bodies? Like, say, there's a certain amount that flows and animates the gross physical body, the astral body, the etheric body. Is it one amount that animates all, or is it different amounts for each?
Is it what now? I don't understand.
So the flow of Kundalini that flows through the nadis, is it one flow for the entire auric structure, or does that flow change for the different bodies throughout the aura?
What do you mean? The part that's active, right?
Right. So is the amount of Kundalini flowing through the gross physical body different than the amount of Kundalini flowing through the astral body or the etheric body? Or is it all just one flow?
I believe it's all just one, because Kundalini is the one power within the body that works on all realms of existence. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if you have 3.1% of your Kundalini that's not dormant, that's flowing through the auric structure, because they have to flow through the auric structure. And the auric structure is the thing that animates all the other bodies. You understand?
Yes.
And then all the other bodies, depending on its ability to conduct energy, will determine how that Kundalini goes into use. In other words, you have a conductor. You know, lead is not a good conductor, but copper is, right?
Yeah.
Right? You understand?
Yes. Yes.
And then you have platinum. You have all these different conductive energies. So if you look at the astral body is a good conductor of energy when it's under conscious control. When it's allowed to go into an emotional state, it conducts the energy, but it dissipates the energy quick. The etheric body is a very good conductor of energy because it conducts the energy and it can help multiply the energy. You understand? Because it can use that energy at a greater level because of its position. Because the etheric body is formed from the upper chakras, not the lower chakras. Okay, so, and then the state of mind, the mental bodies which operates out of the auric and chakras, it will conduct that energy on different levels based on its level, its position. All right.
Okay. So the etheric body operates on the higher centers.
Right.
So when we go into that conscious death state to withdraw Kundalini from the lower parts of the body and push it higher, are we doing that throughout the entire aura? So as we move Kundalini up, the physical body goes into conscious death, the auric body goes into conscious death, but the etheric body, depending on where we're moving Kundalini to, the etheric body becomes more active as the lower bodies kind of deactivate.
Well, the auric body is different. The auric body is the conductor. If the auric body goes in, then the auric body doesn't need to go into a conscious death. The auric body sustains that part of the physical body and that part of the physical body or astral body from decay. You understand? Because
Yes.
remember, we live in a bubble of the auric body. Now, the auric energy, most of the auric energy is moved along with the rise of Kundalini. All right, in order to intensify the power of Kundalini, because you're using the auric, you're using the mental and auric substance in order to wake up Kundalini and move Kundalini. So, because remember, Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness. So you are dissolving consciousness in one part of the body, and only leaving enough energy to throw that part of the body into a hypo state, while you move the other part of the energy in the body into a higher realm of existence. So you dissolve consciousness in the lower part and open up consciousness in the higher part. You understand?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. There's a couple questions here. Elena, I'm not sure if this is it's a statement or a question. I'm just going to read it. It's an etheric body which consists of nadis. Therewith gives a person a natural inborn power. Wider nadis allow a more intense stream of prana in 5 directions: prana, apana, udana, vyana, and samana.
Well, the pranas flow through the nadis and on the well, I can say, if you have the nadis, let's say this is a nadi, the prana flows through the nadis and it also flow around the surface of the nadis. All right, so the nadis is the thing that moves prana and mind throughout the body. Some people call it the subtle nervous system. So, and the nadis exist actually within the aura. And it's the thing that's used to create the building blocks of the mental, of the mental bodies. So the nadis come out of the solar plexus, not the solar plexus. The nadis come out of the Muladhara chakra when the Kundalini goes dormant, because what happens, the soul collects the Shakti power from the universe and from the Mother Earth, and it lodges the Shakti power down in the vortex center called, or the chakra called the Muladhara chakra, or the base of the spine. And then what happens, because the position of the Muladhara chakra, or the base of the spine, that type of power being so great and concentrated the way the soul did it, the power automatically falls into a dormant state by atomic law. It has to fall into a dormant state because it cannot operate at that level. So what happens at that point, the soul wants to create a state of a self-conscious state, a basic self-conscious state. So what happens is that the Kundalini, when it falls into this dormant state, a percentage of it, maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 2%, maybe it's 3%, maybe it's 5%, is allowed to be released from that Muladhara state of consciousness, or vortex state of consciousness, and it's released through a sound vibration, and I described that sound vibration earlier as the 4 aspects of sound. So what happens when it's released, it comes out in these the Tibetan, through Madame Blavatsky, called it lines of force. And the ancient Hindus and Buddhists and mystics call it the nadis. And these nadis move from the base of the spine, and it creates a pathway of nadis that helps to form consciousness. And at every level, these nadis, they come up and they go through the vortex centers. And the minor vortex centers, the minute vortex centers, the minor vortex centers, and the major vortex centers, which are chakras. The vortex centers are chakras. And you have 7 major chakras along the spine, and at least 5 along the spine and 2 above the spine. So it winds itself through those chakras, And where it comes through the chakras, it creates what's called a nadi knot. That nadi knot that it creates is also produce what's called a petal. That petal is a sound vibration called a bija or a mantra. And when it comes out, and then as it goes up to the next, it does it in every chakra. So if you ever seen some of the yantras that describe the chakras, you'll see them describe it as petals or BJs or seed mantras, they call it, because it creates a sound as it whistles through those chakras. Now, the lower chakras below the solar plexus center creates the astral realms. The chakras above, from the heart chakra up, creates the etheric realms and the mental realms, right? So that's what the nadis are. Now the energy patterns, the apana, the vyana, the samana, those energy patterns, when they come into the body through the chakras, they like the apana. The apana comes in, is stationary at the base of the spine, and what it seems to do, it seems to spring up towards the heart chakra and spring back down. That's the pattern it makes because of the nature of its energy. The Vyana energy comes through and is stationary at the sex center, but it travels throughout the entire body. It moves throughout the whole entire body. It's because why? It carries consciousness, and that's the pattern. That is, it aids basic consciousness. It helps the consciousness to move throughout the whole auric body, or physical body, or astral body, or etheric body. And the samana prana that's centrally located at the solar plexus center or the navel center, it has the pattern of being stationary there, but all the pranas come through that center. It's a conjunction point for all the pranas. As the apana prana springs up, it have to move through the solar plexus field of operation. As the Vyana prana moves throughout the body, it have to move through the field of operation of the samana, the solar plexus prana. The same thing with the prana or vaya at the heart chakra. It moves, it springs slightly up and comes back down to mix with the apana, and then it springs back up to the to the heart chakra. It moves through that field of samana energy. Also, the udana energy within the throat chakra, it also moves through the head, moves through the extremities, and moves down through the legs. So it has to pass through that field. So that's why it's a conjunction point. That's why the samana or the solar plexus is a conjunction point of energy. Well, all of these energies follow a particular pattern. So I hope that answers your question. And the kundalini itself flows through the nadis, and like I said, on the surface of the nadis. So, and only a small portion of it, most of the kundalini is dormant, in a dormant state until we reach the right karmic position to unlock it.
Okay, Steph, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I had a Kundalini activation in March.
Why do you say that?
And basically because it was very intense and it lasted quite a while.
What happened? Describe what happened.
Basically, it felt like, it's hard for me to describe it. Like basically sparks of energy everywhere. Almost a cold, almost numb kind of feeling, if it on the face. Basically, I felt energy. A lot of it got almost kind of basically locked out my joints. And I basically felt like it happened so suddenly. It happened in a very unusual way when I was actually driving. So I basically had to pull over. I was barely able to pull over and park somewhere.
Did you go to the doctor to get yourself checked out?
No, I did not.
You should have went to the doctor to get yourself checked out.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you what Kundalini does. When you have a spontaneous rise of Kundalini, you could feel the power moving through your body, and it's usually moving in one direction. You could feel the spine. You could feel your legs go paralyzed. Wherever the Kundalini leads, that part of your body is paralyzed. You may have violent shakes. That's why you're taught to either sit in a firm chair or do the lotus to lock your body in place so that you don't hurt yourself. That's what one of the lotus is to help lock the body and also to push the energy up. So that's why you have the lotus position. And if not, then you sit in a firm chair that you cannot fall out of. Some people even scrap themselves in. So, and then you go into this conscious state of death. If you bring the Kundalini up to the heart chakra, the heart will stop. And you will consciously hear and feel the heart stopping. Okay, now, if it's just a partial rise, you won't have all those effects, but the effects will be similar. And wherever the Kundalini passed through, it's extraordinary, it's really painful. Extremely painful. I mean, the whole, it's like no pain you ever felt before.
Yeah.
So you cannot continue to drive and do that. Now, what it sounded like to me, you had a burst of energy that affected your nervous system when it came through. Now, some people have that when they practice certain practices that they shouldn't have no business practicing without a guide, like astral projection, certain astral projection practices, or certain meditative practices that allow you to shift your consciousness. When you're doing certain practices without the proper safeguards, sometimes you can be driving down the road and you snap into that. You go into that state, and you don't have control. You don't have control, and I'm speaking from experience. So that's why you have to be very careful about what you practice, what type of techniques you use, and because if you don't use a balanced technique and you don't go through a ritual of setting up the environment or stage in order to bring about that state of mind, then you'll have that state of mind just popping out. It's like a lot of these people who do the automatic writing or they do the quick acid projection practices. They open their aura up for different entities to come in, and they can kill themselves like that. So that's, but when Kundalini rise, it rises, and you can feel it, you can see it, your mind expand. One of the effects I had is that my mind expanded throughout the whole city and county and then state and then the world, because that's what happened when you had that experience. Because when you connect to your higher consciousness, you become aware of a vast distance and area, because you connect to all the consciousness in the area. But be very careful about what type of exercises you use too. So, did I help you in any kind of way?
Yes, definitely during the basically this first experience with it, I could not move. I was basically, I could not, I was basically trapped in my car basically for an hour because I couldn't move. And I did get, like, it looked like I was having a seizure, basically, probably to anybody outside. I don't have any epilepsy or anything in the family, or I don't have that health condition, but it did kind of look like that. It was mainly because the energy was just so intense.
Did you have an expansion of consciousness?
Yes.
Okay. How did your consciousness expand? Did you?
Basically, I don't, before this, I basically thought in a completely different way. And it seems like after this, I'm basically thinking in different ways, and I'm accessing different parts of my mind that I don't think I was accessing before.
Yeah, I mean, at that particular point, did your consciousness expand while your body went paralyzed?
While my body was paralyzed,
did your mind like expand and you was aware of everything around you?
I would say no, because I was, it caught me so off guard. It basically, I was not sure what was happening at first. And then I calmed down because I remember reading about it, but I didn't, at the time when I read about it, I didn't really take it serious. I didn't really understand it, basically.
Okay.
I'd read it, but I remember reading it, so I calmed down. I wasn't panicked about it, because at the time, when this first was all happening, I figured I was passing away.
Oh, okay.
I figured I was, because I in 2014 I had a NDE, so I thought, oh great, I'm about to die, basically. That's when everything had, because it happened so suddenly. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
One thing I wanted to know, like, is that normal for the joints to lock like that? Or I almost felt like it was like energy, almost like in a, like it was getting like stored in my joints almost. It was painful.
No, that's not. Well, what happens, like I said, that part of the body you cannot move, and it's not only numb, but the energy the life force leave that part of the body. And you can feel your consciousness as it leaves and enter into the other areas of the body or the chakras, and then it opens up that chakra. And when it opens up the chakra, when it activates the chakra, it opens up, because that's what the Kundalini energy does. It opens up the chakra. It synchronizes the chakra and allow you to open up and see through the chakra. And when it does that, your consciousness expands, because in each chakra there's something called a bindu, and that bindu is the all knowledge space. It's a point of consciousness that opens the door to the all knowledge space on that level of existence, on that realm of the chakras. So at that point, you become a part of the consciousness of the grass, the dirt, the insects, the animals, the life forms, the human life forms. You could sense and communicate to everything at that point. And then you shut that off and you go to the next level and do the same thing. And sometimes when it happens spontaneously, you still have the same experience, but if you become afraid, because you will be afraid for a moment, but if you take control of that fear, you can move on. If you fall into that fear, the Kundalini will fall back down.
Okay.
And you won't experience those things. So you got to get over the fear. Okay, any other questions? We have other questions?
Let's see. What happens basically if that starts happening again? Or
it's rare that it'll happen again. What I would say, if what you need to do is follow the precepts of the 8 limbs of yoga. I would study the 8 limbs of yoga, because for the fact that happened once, you can make it happen again, but under a controlled condition.
Okay.
So learn yama, nanyama, the asanas, the pranayamas, the pratyaharas. Learn those techniques and begin to apply them in your life, and then you can take control over that. You can bring that state on yourself. When you get, once you can get to the 6th, 7th, and 8th limbs of the yoga, where you do concentration, contemplation, meditation, and you can bring that, those states on and learn many things. So, but you want to develop psychically and spiritually before you go into that state, because that's what's going to aid you in completing the state.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. That answers my question.
All right.
Okay. We have another question on YouTube before I get to that. Everyone, please make sure you are signed up on our meetup. That is one way we use to send out announcements and get people to register for classes. I'll also be posting a link there to a shared folder where we're going to post some of the handouts that Nehemiah has sent out. And then in our next class, we're going to, take some time to go over those handouts. So you can find us on Meetup at, I think it's the Mommy Metaphysical Study Group. I'll post a link in the chat in a minute directly to it, so you guys can sign up for that there and get into some of the resources we have available, as well as on our website. Okay, so the question on YouTube, Pardon me if I missed some of your response regarding Gandhi and higher beings. I understand the teachings have no race or culture, but is it possible to be a conduit for change on the one hand and a destroyer on the other? Gandhi was a racist and a British collaborator in pre-apartheid South Africa who pushed his concerns whilst sacrificing Africans. How is this possible?
I don't know if that's necessarily so. I mean, that's one way some people can look at it, but when Gandhi expressed his thoughts in 99 books he wrote, and he was very level-headed when it came to his precepts of life. When you go back to his memoirs or his books, so I know he started his journey of fighting for the rights of Indians in South Africa. Then he left South Africa and went to India, and he fought for the right for India to have India back after India being occupied, I don't know, 600-700 years by the British. And he was one of the main reasons why the British had to give up their occupation of India. So I don't know if he was a collaborator of India. He was a nonviolent. He believed in nonviolence, and because he believed in nonviolence, he believed in the law of karma by allowing the law of karma to accelerate the karma for those people who would do violence against you. That's what nonviolence do. If you are extremely nonviolent under certain conditions of a person who's trying to be violent with you, then you accelerate the negative karma of that person by you being nonviolent to them. So he was only using the ancient law of karma to, to do what he needed to do. The same way Jesus did. Jesus did the same thing 2,000 years before him. Where Jesus was extremely nonviolent, although violence was placed on him and his disciples. So, and I do say stay away from cultural bias and all that stuff because, it's not good. But yeah, go back and look at his 99 books he wrote. And I don't know if you can say that he was a collaborator with the British, but the British hated him. At least the British government did. We had a lot of British people that followed him and believed him.
So you said meeting violence with nonviolence accelerates karma against the perpetrator, the one who was violent.
Meeting what?
Meeting violence with nonviolence accelerates the karma of the perpetrator, the one who attacked you.
Yeah.
But when do you know it's the right time to defend yourself and respond in kind? Like
when you are given the karmic permission to do so. you know, then that's how you know. So throughout history, you'll see that those people who was given the comic permission to do so, which was, I'm not talking about generals, I'm talking about those spiritual warriors who was given the permission to do what they did. They were very successful in doing it. And there was some type of it was different from most battles, you know, like the battles that you hear of the Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna. So, you know, they were different. The battle Moses did with the Pharaoh, you know. So, I mean, it was different. But they were given common permission to do what they needed to do. Because karma had been accelerated.
So if someone comes to me with the intent to kill me, and I'm to respond non-violently, do I allow them to kill me, or do?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, I mean, if you have the ability to stop them from killing you, then your intent is the driving power behind you. Then stop them. You know, but you did not start that fight. They started the fight. If you defend yourself, then you must extend your life here in order to gain as much experience as you can. You know, then you follow the law of karma. But if you don't have to kill that person, then you don't kill that person.
Mm-hmm.
You just stop the person. That's not being violent if you defend yourself. Violence is when you have the intent to be violent and to bring about some type of malicious act just for the fact of trying to be cruel or diabolical. But if you go out there and you defend yourself, then that's not being violent. You have the power to defend yourself without creating more violence. You know.
Okay, everyone, if you see in the chat, I have posted the link to our meetup. You can go there and it's free. You can register and you'll get announcements and you'll get additional notifications when we're scheduling a class. Again, like I mentioned, I'll post a shared folder where we will have class notes like this one, which is on the screen right now. There's been about 5 or 6 separate handouts that Nehemiah has emailed out in the past couple of weeks. This is one of them, a brief look at the chakra system and flow of prana. A couple of the questions asked today were on some of the topics addressed in not just this handout, but several others. I'm going to put these in the shared folders, give everyone a chance to look over them so that in the next class, you can ask questions about the handouts one by one. Each handout has a lot of information on it. So we're not going to go through all the handouts in a single class. We'll probably just do one handout per class, as well as take additional questions from everybody that you may have. Okay, so again, if you look in the chat, you'll see the link to the meetup. I'll have a class announcement for the next open discussion come out in the next couple of days, and in that announcement, there'll be a link to a shared folder, Google Drive folder that has these handouts posted in them so that you can download them, begin reading and studying them, and forming your questions. Okay. So are there any final questions before we close out today's open discussion? Okay, why is it society is so focused on not giving anyone any spiritual suggestions? Psychiatric work, by not giving anyone suggestions at all. It seems so strange that most is on it to keep one another unchanged. That's the question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, we are in the dog ages. That's one thing you can look at. But one of the reasons why I created the Missing Knowledge Center is to get information out. And to, because I noticed a lot of information was disappearing. So that's one of the reasons why I created that. And then try to create a method so that people can connect the dots, because I know it's very complicated when they begin to study a lot of the ancient teachings.
Okay. Mr. Jones, if you want to have a deeper discussion uh, about Gandhi, you can go ahead and email us, and we can go into more detail about that. Are there any final questions before we close out?
Oh, and let me make one more thing about Gandhi. You got to remember that when Gandhi was here, he was fighting the British Empire. And the British Empire had at one time the British Empire had conquered 25% of the world. So there's a lot of misinformation out there on Gandhi and his position, and you have to filter through that stuff. So powers to be will, I mean, just like they're doing it today, they throw a bunch of misinformation out there. All the riots and things that's going on in the United States right now, behind the constant killings of black men by the police department. I mean, we witnessed that yesterday, where the Attorney General gets on TV and just tell a bunch of falsehoods in order to rewrite the narrative. And the South African government did it under the leadership of the British, and the Britons did it, and even the leadership of India did it, because they was afraid of losing their position of leadership. You know, even even the African leaders, because the British had cleverly split up the Africans, even they spoke against Gandhi. So I mean, you have to look past all of that and go to the core of the religious teachings and see where they was coming from there. And you know, even the religious teachings, sometimes if it's not written directly by that person, is propaganda. So you just have to keep searching and search your mind for the right answers. Okay, we can close out if there's no other questions. Do we have a prayer?
Okay. Can everyone see that prayer on your screen?
The whole prayer is not, you have to position it better. That's it.
Okay. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing, granted energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Tim.
Thank you.